Well, welcome back, folks. And today we're going to be soaring to new heights as we discuss what it's like to be the lone wolf, the dark sheep, or the black sheep in the family. What it's like to be the empath, what it's like to see the world differently to everybody else. So today we're going to be talking about how you're feeling isolated, because that's part of the journey. How you're probably feeling a little bit stuck and trapped and alone right now. And I'm going to explain how this is all completely normal. I'm also going to explain how this is happening for a reason. And I'm also going to invite you to pick that up and take it to another level, and get more involved in the channel. So they're the three things that are going to be addressed today on this video. So firstly, if you're feeling that things are not going your way and there's other people in your family that just don't get what you're doing, or your friends don't know what you're doing, and in fact, there's a lot that you're involved in that you're not really talking about to anybody else. You're probably feeling that you are that black sheep. You're probably feeling that the stuff that you really want to talk about, nobody really gets it. So let me bring that to life. When I first went from nursing, when I was in nursing, I decided that I'd had enough of people being written off by the NHS. So one of the things that's really changed my world was a question that kept getting asked. It was the same question that kept getting asked to me. And that was the point that so many people reach with traditional healthcare, where they treat them to the point where they think they can't do anything else. And then the doctor goes in and said, "That's it. I'm sorry. There's nothing more we can do." It's effectively doctors giving patients a death sentence. It's the point where we say there's nothing more that we can do. And people search for meaning. They start scrambling. They start getting open-minded. And the question that they used to say to me was, "Is there any hope?" And that was really that question, that single question, was the start of my journey. So my journey then took me on a very alternative path. Having been traditionally medically trained, I'd heard of things like, I'd heard about this thing called Reiki. It had been brought onto my radar years before while I'd been backpacking in Australia. I met a load of Reiki people that had just come from a course and were telling me, "Oh, it's a great course. We just did it in a weekend, and now anyone can do it." And I used to think, yeah, here we go. I wasn't ready for it then, but the seed was planted, and maybe I'll plant that seed for you today. But I digress. The reason I'm telling you this is how the beginning of my journey that led me to feeling isolated. So I went into Reiki not really getting it, not really believing in it, being a little bit cynical, but thinking, well, there's nothing that the NHS is offering to people. So let's test this out. Let's see if it works. And I had a series of experiences. I didn't like my trainer. I fell out with him. I got banned from asking questions because I asked too many questions. And I didn't really resonate with him on any level. But what happened after the course, I did Reiki 1 on the Saturday, I did Reiki 2 on the Sunday, and on the Monday, when I decided that was it, I wasn't going to do anything with it, I got a random check from a company I hadn't spoken to or heard from for over a year for the exact amount of the course, the exact amount. And I thought, wow, even with my cynical, medically trained mind, I thought, you know what, let's do it then. So the Reiki master has said, go and do Reiki on yourself every day. Detox, don't drink. That was an issue for me at that time as well, because I was living in a nurse's home. And not drinking amongst peers while I was doing healing. They just didn't get that. And the bottom line was it brought up stuff within me. I started to feel pain in my heart. And I had massive breakthroughs as my life flashed before me. So I experienced an energetic wake up that showed me, that proved to me that this stuff actually works. And what did it lead to? It led me going around and telling all my friends and family that I loved them. And from someone that never hugged, we grew up in a family that weren't very emotional. That was a breakthrough, interestingly enough. My parents both wanted to know if I was taking drugs at the time. They didn't really get it. That's how woo-woo it was to them in their world. And even my mates were looking at me funny. And I started explaining healing and well-being. And with all of my close-knit friends and family, they reached a point where they just weren't buying it. They weren't as into it as I was. I'd had a direct experience. And that was really, if I wanted to isolate my journey, that was when I started feeling very, very different to everyone else. And in the preceding 20 plus years, I hardly talk about this stuff amongst my peers as a result of it, because they're just not ready. They are not ready for that stuff. They're not interested in it. The people that I spoke to about it don't really ask me any questions, so I don't offer anything these days. So I've been under the radar for most people that I know for a pretty long, well, for 20 plus years, pretty much since discovering this stuff. So I had my moments when I was running around. I wanted to tell everybody that about this amazing tools that were out there. And these days, I don't talk much about them. But now I'm coming out. I'm telling you on this channel. But what that led to me was just feeling like that black sheep, feeling isolated, feeling that nobody really understood the stuff that I was talking about and the journey that I was on. And what I've come to find is when I've started talking about this stuff and meeting fellow empaths on the journey, is that I'm not the only one that has been on this isolated route, this lone path of not necessarily talking about most of the stuff that I do, because most people don't get it. Certainly my family don't get it. And all of my closest friends didn't get it at the time. Now, here I am 20 years later, my closest friends have changed. They've all changed. There's still a few from those 20 years ago, but we are only talking like three or four people out of hundreds that I knew that they're still there with me. Most people I've discovered are on this different path, are feeling isolated from your family, not being able to talk about the stuff that you do. These are common signs. And what I've come to realize is I use the analogy from, if you're old enough, if you're my generation, you'll remember a film called Highlander. They had a thing called The Quickening, which was where all the immortals felt this draw, this energy to connect. They also felt an energy to cut people's heads off, but let's take that out of the equation for now. So we'll park the cutting off of heads, and what we'll bring is this feeling, this draw that there's something big, that you're meant to be somewhere else. And if you're feeling that calling right now, well, that's exactly what I'm here for. That's why I'm feeling it, and that's why I'm putting the message out now on this video. Because I've talked about the healer's journey. I've talked about attracting darker forces, especially narcissists, into our world to really crank up the pain, to bring us to a point of pain and isolation where we're open-minded enough. In the same way I witness in the NHS, when people have been written off by the health service, then they become open-minded. And for you, once your world collapses, once you realize that nobody understands you, once you think that you're completely alone, then you're more open to connect with your spiritual community, for your quickening, for your Highlander moments, folks. And that's really what this is about. Just to tell you that they're the symptoms. Be cranking up pain to making you feel more isolated, more alone. These are completely normal signs. And this really is a call that the planet is going to shit at the moment. And it's our duty to combine our energies to raise the vibration. There's only so much work that you can do on your own, folks. You've been shining your little light in your dark corners, and now it's time to bring all those little lights together and cause like proper flames from an energy point of view, rather than a let's go and burn the planet type of view. So that's what's going on at the moment, folks. The vibrational shift on the planet is bringing up your issues. It's making you realize that there's dark and narcissistic forces that have been brought there for a reason. They're actually a gift. When you get through this, you'll realize the gifts that they've been to you. to help you to grow as an individual, to realize that it's not all sweetness and light as we move through this, to realize that in order to be love, to be a healer, to be powerful, we have to acknowledge the dark side of our personality as well. And that doesn't mean we're going to go around and devil worship or anything like that, folks. That is not what this is about. That is about being able to match darkness with darkness when we need to. And the only reason we need to do that is if there's narcissistic relationships and we need to get out. It's the exit. It's the beam me up, Scotty moment. It's the bit where we stop beating ourselves up because idiots come in and start telling us we're wrong. My dad, when he was alive, had a wonderful thing about the Houses of Parliament. He's like democracy. And underneath it, it says where any two idiots can outvote a genius. Now, that's a bit like that in my world. You know, if I was to go by the masses of what people believed, I would never even be talking to you right now. In fact, I'd have probably killed myself, real thinking that I wasn't meant to be here, that I must be some sort of alien species that's been thrown in amongst all of these lunatics. Especially because they think that I'm the lunatic, and I probably am. I own a title like that. I'm very happy to own my lunatic side. And I wrote my book called The Lunatic Gene, which I definitely encourage you look up. A bit of self-promoting, grandiose marketing there for you. Read The Lunatic Gene if you want help to understand how the mind works, how our heart works, and how it all mixes together. So that's my gratuitous plug for my own book, which I'm sure will go down like a lead balloon with most of my audience. But nonetheless, I'm going to throw it out there anyway. The point being, folks, that you're here for a reason. You're feeling isolated for a reason, and you're being called for a reason. So the darkest hour happens just before dawn, folks. And if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling that nobody gets you right now, then you're watching this video for a reason. Like, subscribe to the channel. This is your invite in to connect with a bigger community and a message which will guide you to better people, a better path, and a better life. And that's why I'm here, folks. That's why I'm here for you, to help empaths to navigate the darker forces, the psychopaths, the sociopaths, and the narcissists from their life, to explain that that's all happened for a reason. And in the bigger picture of things, that's completely normal. And to invite you to something a little bit better. So if you've got any questions or comments, by all means, leave them, and I will do my best to get back to as many people as you can. If you've got any stories you want to share, by all means, go for it. And like and subscribe to this video, to the channel, because this is for you. And you never know, folks, it might be you that I'm interviewing on this channel as we move forward, because my journey is to involve, to connect, and to share stories. And what we'll find as we move forward is a lot of stories that are, as they say in Thailand, same, but different. Stories of isolation, and I thought I was lost. I didn't know where I was meant to be. This is all part of the plan, folks. And now that the vibrational shift on the planet is happening, you're being called to connect with your light family, if you believe in that. If you don't, you probably will do if you're feeling isolated. So I'm not going to say believe anything. I'm just going to say like and subscribe, and let's explore, folks. Let's explore, because if you're feeling lost, isolated, and you don't know what to do, well, and you're still watching this video, that's substantial, because most people stop watching by about a quarter of the way through it, statistically. If you've watched this at the end, you're here for the reason. You're the people I'm meant to be speaking to. And people that don't finish the video, well, they've either got way more interesting things to be doing, they've been a call to action, there's been a fire in the house, or potentially an emergency, or they're just not ready for this journey and they're not ready for this message, which you definitely are if you're still listening to this. So thank you for your time, folks. Your time is your currency that nobody can give back, and I appreciate you spending yours with me on this video. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.